This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, what's up? Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, along with the Mark Weber.
Dub them ease.
And we are back for another edition of The Onside Kick, your NFL, or I should say, professional football podcast, because Mark, as it was kind of, there were droppings, like, throughout the past of like, oh, this may be coming, but today we got some pretty big news about maybe a lockout coming to the NFL, so we may be an XFL podcast. For at least a year. As so we are reporting, we're going to talk about the news about a potential lockout in the NFL. We're also going to take a look at the Minnesota Vikings. They're trying to get Kyle Rudolph locked down. We're going to talk about, is that a good idea? What should they do with Kyle Rudolph? Then we're going to take a look at the Dallas Cowboys and their Super Bowl expectations and if they should be favorites for the Super Bowl. But before we get into everything, make sure to check us out on patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. That link is down below in the description. We got tons of great rewards for you guys. Like, you can get access to our Discord server. You can get the MVP podcast a month early. The one that Mark and I, it's actually a weird placement, that we talked Game of Thrones. At the time we talked about it, it was normal. It was right before the series finale.
If you were a patron, you would have gotten it.
You got to see that on time. Everyone else is going to see it this June. You get that podcast a month early, and you have our silver tier, rewards tier, is where you get to kind of suggest topics for us to talk about, and then the gold tier, the big one, where you get to come on a podcast and talk about whatever it is you would like to talk about with that podcast. But Mark, let's jump right into it, because we got a lot to dissect here with this whole lockout talk, because it was today, and I know that when we came in, like you said, it's like, hey, Ricky, this is not happening like tomorrow. Like, we've got some time before this is going down.
2 full seasons.
But what was kind of reported today, and I'm going from BleacherReport.com, is that Liz Mullen from Sports Business Journal had basically reported that DeMaurice Smith, the Players Association executive director, sent an email to every NFL agent saying that the union is advising players to plan for a work stoppage of at least a year in length when the collective bargaining agreement ends after the 2020 season. This comes, we're 100 days away from the 100th season for the NFL. We've got some other stuff here where Smith also told Monday Morning Quarterbacks Albert Beer that 2 years ago that the lockout for 2021 is almost a virtual certainty. And then we've had other stuff like Adam Schefter in the past. You've got Richard Sherman saying stuff about what this could be. And apparently, according to Dan Graziano, this is what the CBA is looking for, because the players are just unhappy with the CBA. That was agreed to in 2011. And per Dan Graziano from ESPN, changes the NFLPA would like to see made in the CBA include an increased share of league revenue from the current 47% rate. That's number one. Number two, obtaining greater guarantees in contracts and decreasing free agent limitations. Examples being the franchise tag, fifth-year rookie option. The NFL and NFLPA have started negotiations for a new CBA, though there's no indication the two sides are close to an extension. The thing I want to ask you, Mark, is not that will this happen, because it kind of seems like a lockout will happen. The thing I want to ask you, and this is the scary part for most fans, will the NFL lose an entire season because of this lockout?
So I think what we first need to do, though, before I get to that question, is be aware of what unions do in a negotiation process. A union's only leverage is a strike. Yeah. That is the only thing that they have over the heads of the owners.
We see it all the time here in Chicago with the CPS, where it's like, you know what? We want what we want, so we're going to strike.
Well, it's the only move the union has. What's their other option?
Yeah.
Strongly worded letters? That's not going to work. The NFL, in this case for the NFL gets paid when football happens.
Yeah.
You take football away, they don't get paid. Problem solved. And then for the owner's case, problem started. So that is their only move. So when the head president, whatever his title is, of the Players Association,
Executive director,
when he says, "Hey everybody, we might have a lockout. I want you to be prepared because we might go on strike." Essentially, is what he's saying. That is part of a negotiation tactic because that's a threat. He is making a threat to the owners, saying, "We're not happy. You're aware that we're not happy, and we're already prepared." I'm telling everybody, last time it was like 100 whatever days. This time it's going to be a full year. So we're gonna make sure our guys are ready, because that was a criticism last time for certain players that they would not have been able to survive that strike long enough. So this is part of the threat. This is part of the negotiation process by just getting them out. Plus, they are the union. They should get their players prepared. They should do this well in advance to say, hey, you guys need to be ready. Because if this happens, the guy making
those paychecks get cut.
Yeah, well, the guy making $500 a season, $500,000, of course, that's not chump change. I would love to have $500,000. I wouldn't even go for a season. I'll take it over 2 seasons.
Yeah.
You give that to me over 2 seasons, I'll be thrilled. Really, you give it to me over 3 seasons, I'm still going to be thrilled. Anyways.
You're talking like the special teamer guys. Maybe.
I'm talking about the guy who's making a vet minimum, or the undrafted free agent rookie.
Yeah.
I'm talking about these guys. They do not have that spare money like maybe Aaron Rodgers has, or maybe Russell Wilson. He's got quite the big paycheck now, right?
Yeah.
So these guys got money. They're all right. They're set. They've stashed it away. It's those other guys that really need the help. The guy who maybe gets drafted in the 7th, but feels like he's a real hot shot. He goes out, he buys himself a nice car. He buys mom a house. He does all the good stuff that you want him to do. Lockout happens, and now you've got nothing, and now you're selling cars. So they're doing what they need to do and what they should be doing as a decent union. Part of the problem is for the NFL Players Association is they kind of created some of this mess themselves. They didn't really do that good of a job negotiating last time. They got certain things they wanted. They got a lot of things in there that are not good on their part. And I think they kind of realized, well, this didn't work out. So now they're thinking, we got to fix some of this stuff too that we did wrong. So they're really kind of preparing. Do I personally believe that we lose an entire NFL season? No. I personally don't believe we lose a single game. Maybe a preseason game, but an actual game that counts, I don't think we lose anything. And there's reasons for that. Like I said, the players who need the money. There's much more players needing money than not needing money. And I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to piss anybody off for their player, but insert rich player here is not going to be writing checks to the rest of his teammates saying, don't worry, I got you. That's just not going to happen. It's not how it works.
Yeah.
So that's not going to happen. The other part of it, too, is some of these players who have a window of like 3 years, that's the average window of time NFL career lasts. That person who's sitting there going, wait a minute, I don't have that much time in this league. I don't have time to sit around and wait. I need to play. It's easy for basketball to miss games. 12 guys on the team. Not that bad, right?
Plus, I mean, there's 82 games of that year, so it's like you get a shortened season. Players in the NBA, they actually like that now because it's like, oh, I don't have to do that whole load management thing.
Yeah.
Because there's less games to worry about.
You get a guy in the NFL, shortened season, a lot less games in that case. Well, not necessarily a lot less games, but a lot less percentage that are left. And that pay discrepancy is really big for some of these players.
Let's say they do miss like 2 to 4 weeks. When you come back, let's say they miss 4 weeks. That means you have 12 games left. That you're looking at that, it's like, okay, you were making this over 16. Now we're going to take that and kind of switch it to 12. So it's like you'll be making less than what you were because what you signed up for was a 16-game season. And obviously the team's not going to pay you that $50,000, $500,000.
Most of the teams are not going to be very generous.
Yeah, exactly.
As much as the Philadelphia Eagles made some great moves, they're not going to be that generous to where they're going to pay everybody the whole full thing.
And the thing I wonder with this, and this is kind of what comes into the whole will we miss games, will we won't miss games is going back to the things that the players union wants is basically it's three things. They want basically a higher rate on league revenue, which is interesting to see how much of that the owners are going to want to give up. Number two,
none.
The contract guarantees.
The owners feel like they're giving up too much already.
I'll be honest, like two of the three of these, like the only one I could see them possibly winning with is the decreasing free agent limitations. Like I could see them saying, like, for example, the franchise tag. I could see the NFLPA using Le'Veon Bell as a situation. And we're actually, one of the things I was seeing is people are maybe expecting Zeke to be the next Le'Veon, where it's like wherever they come in with their contract negotiations, well, we're not going to do that. We're going to franchise tag you. You know what? We're going to franchise tag you again.
Yeah.
I wonder if the NFLPA, especially with something like that, does something where they say, hey, this is BS. I know that you can only franchise tag one person, but I don't like they should say if you tag them last year, you shouldn't be able to tag them the next year because basically it's keeping that player handicapped basically.
Yeah.
To where it's like, what, do I sign the tender or do I do what Le'Veon does and I just don't play for an entire year?
And for a quarterback, it's great. For, let's say your kicker really sucks.
Exactly. And I mean, like Robbie Gold, I believe he was franchise tagged originally from the 49ers. The other two, I don't see any hedgeway being like, yes, they might be able to up that percentage rate from revenue, but I don't think they'll get to where they want to. And also obtaining greater guarantees and contracts. I feel like the owners are going to look at them and go, how much do you want us to guarantee? We're already guaranteeing a lot, especially with those quarterback. Those quarterback contracts, look at the Kirk Cousins. The owners will throw out, look at Kirk Cousins' contract. And I know he's not like everyone, but it's like,
but it takes somebody to open the door.
Do you want a fully guaranteed contract? 'Cause that's not going to happen because of the injury risk in the NFL. So for me, if it's going to miss games, because this is what we have right now of what they're looking for, it's how much of a stand is the Players Association, the Players Union going to say? Are they going to say, nope, we're not budging. We're not budging until we get two of these. We're not budging until we get this bare minimum. And how much are the owners going to back off once they make their kind of line in the sand?
And it's tough because all it is, it's the war of attrition between these two sides. And you're going to have the Players Union side that says, if we can make them miss money, they're going to fall pretty quickly, which they've got a point because these are people who are rich, who own these teams.
Yeah.
They're not accustomed to losing money. They don't want to lose money. And those stadiums are expensive. Taxes, that can be expensive. The salaries of people who aren't in the Players Union, those are expensive.
Well, it also affects all the stadium workers, too.
Yeah.
Because if they miss games, they don't have jobs either because there's no game to work at.
Which, to be honest, the owners honestly don't really care about that part, I'm sure.
Well,
but
we're thinking about the little guy.
right.
There,
But
Mark.
that little guy is the person who goes and gets a job somewhere else and isn't there, maybe. So just you can
Ben
hurt them in the
Roethlisberger's not
wall.
going to be working at Burger King.
Exactly. But the guy who's selling you your Bud Light probably is.
Yeah.
Where on the flip side is for the owners, where they're standing there saying, we've got the advantage because as soon as those special teamers, as soon as those guys who are third on the depth chart, as soon as it starts hurting their pockets, which it will after just a game, maybe even less, those guys are going to put the pressure on the union to finally fold. So it's tough. And really, I think the union has the tougher side of that battle because they have a lot more people that they're dealing with. They have to keep loyalties and keep enough people motivated. And that's a really tough thing to do.
A side thing that I also think about is I wonder how many players coming out, like for next year's draft, how many players coming out that are going to be those like 6th, 7th undrafted guys where it's like, you know what? Like, especially like if you're coming out and it's like, I'm probably going to be a 7th rounder or undrafted. I'm only a junior. You know what? fuck this noise. I'm going back to school because I don't want to have to deal with working for a year and then potentially losing a year.
If I'm not getting paid anyways.
So early. Exactly. I'll go back to school, have a little fun while I'm not getting paid for my college anyways. And then maybe come out after all this mess is passed and hopefully we have a new CBA. The thing that I kind of want to, and bring this up because Dave brought this up in our Discord group, is the XFL, where Dave was like right away, it was kind of a funny joke of like, was Vince's plan all along to do it after the 2020 season? I will say I don't know if the NFL lockout will affect the XFL at all.
No, I don't think they have anything to do with each other.
And the reason why I say that is at first I was like, they could gain fans because there could be no season in 2021, but the seasons don't overlap. Like the season for the XFL starts the week after the Super Bowl and ends on their championship game is April 26th. So it's like you have that small window.
Yeah.
And even then, like you said before the podcast, it's like when we had the NFL lockout in 2011, ESPN's probably not going to talk about the XFL. They're going to talk about the NFL lockout.
Oh, talking about day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5.
Day 95 of the NFL lockout. And that's where it's going to be, where it might be a negative for the XFL during their inaugural season.
Kind of takes away because all they're ever going to talk about is that. And you say, like, maybe they can steal some of these young players. Maybe they would rather go there where there's at least a security of a paycheck. But
not a high paycheck.
You know the NFL is going to come back. I mean, that's the thing. The NFL can miss an entire season, and you know it'll be back next year. Or no one's going to be happy about it, especially, if you're a Browns fan, a Bears fan, you're a fan who's like, but wait, my team just got good. And now I don't get football? Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's going to come back eventually. Any of those players are going to rather follow the dream of playing in the NFL. Not too many people are going to pull a Jim Kelly and say, yeah, I'm going to try the new league and hope for the best. They're not going to win over too many of these type of guys where I don't think it necessarily is going to matter. They might be able to pull something off because technically those guys might not really be under a contract, so maybe they will be able to steal some of them away for something. But that sounds like a bit of a mess.
And two things. First off, Andrew Luck's father, who's the commissioner, not the commissioner, the GM of the league, he's even denied plans to move the schedule to the fall if there is a lockout. So they're sticking pat. And with the XFL, just to show how it compares.
Because as soon as they did, the NFL's like, all right, we're back.
We're back. Well, fuck. Just to show their kind of pay compared to the NFL, they have 4 tiers. Tier 1 is your franchise player designation. You get 1 player. That's between $25,000 and $60,000. Tier 2, 3 players per team, get between $15,000 and $17,500. Tier 3, 22 or 23 players get between $6,000 and $10,000, and then Tier 4, 18 players get between $5,000 and $6,000.
So that's right. You at home could potentially make more money than a professional football player.
Basically,
you got to win. I actually remember in college, this was when arena football was still a thing.
For teaching, I would be Tier 1.
There you go. I remember working there, and the guy in the warehouse, like, he had a tryout for the XFL or the arena football team, Rush, I think, Chicago Rush.
Yep.
And I was like, "What? Like, you're working at Walmart, and you're gonna go play on this arena football team?" But that's the point. They might have to.
Kurt Warner was bagging groceries.
They
and
might
played
have
in
to.
arena football,
right? Like I mean, a $70,000 salary or whatever for that one guy. Sure, that's fine. That's nice. But the guy who's making $17,000 a year, he's going to need to do something on the side.
Yeah, and I just, coming back to it kind of to end the discussion a little bit, is I just wonder how much is the Players Union Players Association going to get that they want? Because even think about last year, one of the big things that was kind of a bugaboo was that the players really wanted that extra, like, what was it in the offseason? Basically, it's what coaches complain about it now because they don't get enough time in the offseason with their offensive tackles, where it's like less of the OTAs, less of the workouts in the offseason, so that they're not overworking themselves and not getting injured. is there going to be something like that where it's like, hey, is it the franchise tag thing that they really kind of harp on? And the NFL goes, all right, we'll give you this, but you got to scratch our back too. And they lose out
the NFL
on something that's very important, like I would say league revenue.
Well, I was going to say the NFL always has such a good piece of leverage, unfortunately, over the players' union of the 18-game season. That's what the NFL wants. The NFL wants to add
preseason games and
they want to add 2 more games to the regular season, and the NFL Players Union does not want that at all. And I completely agree that we do not need those games. It's going to be a bad idea. But the thing that's great for unfortunately, when it comes to negotiations, to have something that the NFL Players Association is so against, they go, fine, we'll give up those 2 games, but you got to give up what you want for the revenue share.
I mean, I also feel like when it comes to the revenue share, they're already at 47. The owners are not going to give 50-50. The owners are definitely not going to give the players more revenue than they're making. So what is it, 48%?
Hey, anything's better than what they got now.
I know 1% is more revenue than you have, but it's like when you're already so close to 50-50, which is not going to happen because, like I said, the owners, Jerry Jones is not going to.
But you have to fight for it.
50-50. I wonder what's going to take, because in my mind the revenue might stay the same or be like 48%. What
47.5?
Yeah, what's going to be kind of pushed through? Because, like I said, out of the 3 that I mentioned, I don't see the revenue going up. If it does, it's not going to go up by much. Could go up like the 0.5 you just said, and I just for sure don't see the NFL and the owners saying, yeah, we'll give you greater guarantees on those contracts.
That's the point of the negotiation.
So we'll see what's going to happen. I'll give you early prediction. Do you think we lose any games with this lockout, or is this all bluff?
Well, I'm not going to say it's a bluff, but I don't think the NFL Players Association can. The players they represent, the majority of them can't afford to miss these games.
Yeah.
And I think we'll learn a little bit more depending on what the Players Association does to help educate their players and help get them saving up their money wisely. But the odds are it's not going to happen because you know what? I get it. Average career, 3 years. You get a little bit of money, screw it. I'm going to enjoy myself right now because I just saw way more money than I ever thought I'd see in my life.
Yeah. I'm going to be on the other side. I'm honestly scared that we might lose some football in 2021, where I think that this is a little, from what I'm seeing and from the kind of tone of voice, it could be what you're saying, Mark, hey, we're going to make this tough stand now to probably shock the owners and kind of scare them that they might lose some money. But I feel like this lockout is going to be just too stubbornness just hitting heads. And I'm not saying stubbornness is like either side is wrong, but I feel like these sides, there is so much animosity between players and owners, between players and Roger Goodell already, that I just feel like that's going to carry over into the lockout discussions, and there might be a chance we lose games, even if it's preseason games, but I am scared that we could lose games in 2021. So I'm on that side, not on the confidence of we're not going to miss anything. But this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down below. What do you think that this is just, you want talk right now so that we can scare the owners and we're not going to miss games? Are you honestly scared that we're going to miss football games in 2021? Let us know what you guys think.